Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about the Green New Deal. Yesterday, eco-terrorists from the group Earth First attacked the natural gas supply for Aspen, Colorado. Thousands of residents in Aspen, Colorado were left without heat during near 0-degree Fahrenheit weather after vandals, possibly green activists from an environmental group, attacked the city's gas system, authorities said Monday. That's minus 18 degrees Celsius. People won't live very long at that temperature without heat, particularly the elderly and the sick. At 8 o'clock this morning, almost the entire region was below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really cold. The good news, though, is that most of the people in Aspen, Colorado have fireplaces, and they can burn wood to keep themselves alive. Aspen is also one of the richest cities in the world. This home is currently for sale for $23,750,000. Aspen is a beautiful place surrounded by beautiful forests. One of the main reasons there's so many trees there is that people living there now are able to cook their food and keep their houses warm using fossil fuels. They don't have to chop down firewood anymore to stay alive. Fossil fuels quite literally saved the forests in Europe and North America. And when people are burning wood instead of natural gas, the air is going to be thick with smoke, like it undoubtedly is this morning in Aspen, Colorado. The air there is probably very dirty and unhealthy today. Now let's look at the website of the eco-terrorists who did the damage in Aspen yesterday. Their website features pictures of pine trees which are going to be cut down because they destroyed the natural gas supply in Aspen, Colorado. So Earth First tells us that they love trees and clean air, and they are directly responsible for trees being cut down and for the air being dirty. I've been a very active environmentalist for almost my entire life. I testified at my first congressional hearing in support of wilderness when I was aged 14 in 1972. I worked hard to get the Clean Air Act passed. I worked for a couple of summers as a wilderness ranger in New Mexico, and I still ride my bike everywhere to do my shopping. I've been unhappy for decades how the environmental movement allowed themselves to be hijacked by climate alarmists. Fossil fuels quite literally saved our forests. They cleaned up our air. And prior to fossil fuels, cities like London used whale oil to light their street lamps. In other words, fossil fuels saved the whales. Green groups like Earth First have become very destructive, useful idiots. They've become the worst enemies of the environment by pushing imaginary green energy. And they're not the only useful idiots. Let's look at the voting record from Aspen, Colorado. The city of Aspen voted almost entirely for Joe Biden for president. The small number of votes for Donald Trump in Pitkin County mostly came from rural areas outside of Aspen. Eco-terrorists shut down the natural gas supply in Aspen, Colorado today, but that's only for a short period of time. Residents there can still drive their expensive cars to the gas station, fill up, and drive around to stay warm. But Joe Biden has promised to shut down fossil fuels permanently.
But kiddo, I want you to just take a look, okay? You don't have to agree, but I want you to look in my eyes. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate. Okay?
These people in Aspen, Colorado are struggling to get by for a few hours without natural gas, and they just voted for a candidate who promised to shut down the supply permanently. George Orwell said, "So much of left-wing thought is a kind of playing with fire by people who don't even know that fire is hot." Leftists will choose virtue signaling even when it comes down to a matter of their own survival. For decades, they've been programmed and brainwashed to take actions which will lead to their own demise. In 1841, Charles Mackay said, "Men, it has been well said, think in herds. It will be seen that they go mad in herds, while they only recover their senses slowly and one by one." There may be a few frozen people in Aspen this morning who are starting to recover their senses. We can only hope. Before I finish this up, I'm going to tell you a story from my childhood. I already mentioned that I testified at a congressional hearing for wilderness in May of 1972. A few weeks later, I was playing golf with my brother in Aspen, Colorado. An elderly gentleman walked up to us out of the rough, told us that he'd lost all his balls, and asked if he could purchase a few from us. We told him that it was okay, and then he asked if he could play along with us. He was very polite and asked us lots of questions. We weren't as polite as he was, and it took us quite a while to return the favor. Finally, around the 13th hole, we asked him what he did. He said, "Well, I'm a television producer. I produced a show called Star Trek. Have you ever heard of that?" Here I was, a 14-year-old kid playing golf with Gene Roddenberry.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're scum! We suck!
Toto's been trying to help out clueless leftists for decades. You can visit him and Kyrie on the web at realclimatescience.com.